Okay, here we go. I'll tell you something about making these YouTube videos. It does not matter whether I'm in the house or I'm out here in the backyard. As soon as I get everything all set up just right, I inevitably kick the tripod and have to start out all over again. And today I needed to get going because it is hot here in Austin, even though we have not hit triple digits yet. So I hope that my sweaty face comes off as dewy instead of sweaty. The big news this week was that I fell down, and it had been a long time since I had taken a tumble, though I've done it before in the past. And I'm not sure if it had to do with being on the weight loss plan or the Zepbound, and it might have been actually. And maybe not even just that specifically, but that we had gone to Dave's daughter's house for a belated Father's Day get together with her family and his son's family. So this was the first time I'd had a social gathering since I had started this weight loss plan. And his daughter, super sweet, and I said something about it, and so she got chicken sausage links, and she'd made pancakes, and there was scrambled eggs. So I had 3 sausage links and 3 of these little dollar pancakes, and somehow I managed not to get the scrambled eggs, which is probably the thing I really needed to eat. And then we ended up staying over there for a while and visiting. And so by the time we came home, I was really hungry. And so, but after we get home, I see there's zinnias out in the front garden. So I grab the kitchen shears and I go out there and I cut some zinnias, and I'm coming back up the front step. And we have like 3 concrete steps going up the little front porch, and just stepped off the sidewalk. We had a big lantana bush that was kind of blocking the sidewalk there. And I'm just walking along, thinking about, oh, it hasn't been really that hot. And I don't even know what else I was thinking about. And my foot went off the edge of the sidewalk into the flower bed, and I just folded and then fell, I guess, on my shoulder. And I had scissors in my hand and the flowers. And I'm really lucky I didn't hit my head on the front porch and cut it, which would have really been a problem for my YouTube career. A big bruise and cut on my face. And so I'm laying there on the ground, on the concrete, and luckily, and Dave is in the house. He's already gone back in the house since we got back, and he's watching paddling videos, which by that I mean he's watching canoeing videos, not the other kind of paddling. And so I call him. I have my phone in my pocket, so I call him, and he comes out, and I'm, laying there on the sidewalk, and he's just like, I think he was a little stunned. I think he didn't really know quite what to do. So he sort of spotted me while I got back up and did the downward dog thing, and was careful not to get on my knee. And I went in the house, and amazingly, I was not terribly hurt. I get on the recliner, and he brings me a cup of tea and some ice packs, and I put some arnica on, which, if you don't know what that is, it's sort of an ointment that will help prevent bruising. And don't seem to be that worse for wear, but it's scary. It's always scary when you fall. And I've fallen a couple of times, most notably one night I was out. This was when I was still not married to Dave. Dave and I have actually only been married 3 years. Our 3rd anniversary is going to be in August. I'd come home by myself one night and took the garbage out and just tripped on the curb. And I worked until midnight. I was on the late night shift. And I'm sprawled out there in the street all by myself at like 1 o'clock in the morning. But every time this has happened, I've managed to avoid major damage. And I always think of it like my little guardian angels, all these little angels flying around me, just flapping their wings as fast as they can, so that, she's like, oh my God, she's so heavy. We gotta hold her up. Come on, flap faster, flap faster. So anyway, that was scary. And I think one of the things that's really scary about when you fall when you're seniors, I always say, if you break your hip, it's like the beginning of the end. And I certainly don't want it to be the end. And the other thing about falling, if you've ever fallen, is like the minute you start to fall, you're like, oh my God, I'm falling. And it's like, it's in slow motion. Your mind is like, oh no. So you hit the ground. So, but I seem to be okay, and really blessed and grateful for that, for sure. So I did wonder if being overly hungry might have contributed to taking that tumble. I don't know, but I was super hungry, and that's probably a good lesson not to, get too hungry. I should have eaten the eggs. What can I say? I just got distracted. There was a lot going on over there. But I mentioned to David that I'd lost 6 pounds, and he said he had too. And you would look at the guy and think, this guy doesn't need to lose any weight. But he got this talking scale that measures not only his weight, but his muscle mass and his water. And so the scale gives you a biological age. And it told David that if he'd lose a little weight, he'd be biologically in his 60s, and Dave's 74. So he's been working really hard to work out and get ready for this canoe race that he's doing at the end of July. And, he may actually be aging backwards. I can't say that he's not. And we have this 25-foot rope in our backyard that David had hung up years ago to climb as part of his exercise routine. And he had a hip replacement last year. And I'd said then, I think this is the end of your rope climbing days. And I came home the other day from running some errands, and at dinner, David mentioned, he said, "Oh, I climbed that rope today." And I was like, "What?" And so he did, and he climbed all the way to the top and did chin-ups, and so he's rocking it. That just goes to show if you work it, that there isn't any limit on what age you can be, and really be fit and healthy and do lots of things you never thought you could do. So hopefully I will find that space for me too, because I'm getting ready to start doing some strength training. And I don't think I'm going to be climbing the rope in the backyard, but I might be not falling down, which would be an improvement, that's for sure. I felt pretty good this week. I haven't had any nausea in my second week. I haven't had any major symptoms that they talk about, constipation or whatever. I have been a little weepy still. There was watching the news story about Nancy Guthrie. Just, I think if you're a senior, the whole story about that is just terrifying, about being in your bed alone at night and having some stranger break in. It's just a horrible story. There's lots of terrible things that go on all over the world in the news, but I think that strikes home a lot for seniors. And then I was watching, looking at Facebook on my phone, and there was some old Father Knows Best reel that was playing, and Father Knows Best. I was like, oh. So that's all manageable. I can deal with that for sure. Other things I noticed on my second week of being on Zepbound are I am still having the decrease in mental chatter, which I'm really liking. I'm having to really push eating the protein, going to bed earlier, and that's kind of a major thing. I worked the 4 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight shift at a affordable housing community for 10 years. And so I was really used to coming home at midnight, and it's been hard to shake that. So even now, David goes to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and then a lot of times I'll stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning watching TV or whatever, which means that he gets up earlier in the morning than I do. And that has kind of created both of us having sort of this time to ourselves. Mine is in the nighttime and his is in the morning. And unfortunately for David, his morning quiet time where he's just sitting there looking at his phone and petting the dog is kind of going away. And he's got me, and now I have more energy. So I'm waking up in the morning, I'm like, ah. So, but I guess that's a small sacrifice to have if your wife is going to try to lose a lot of weight. As I have mentioned before, my husband is super supportive of what I'm trying to do with losing weight, and he's just a sweetheart. By the time you see this video, the Medicare Bridge program will have officially started with GLP-1 drugs for seniors for $50 a month. It will be very interesting to see how it all rolls out, and I think there's a lot of steps to it that it's going to take a little time for everybody to figure out exactly how it's going to work. But I honestly think it's going to help a lot of people. Whatever the side effects are versus being obese, as far as your long-term health as a senior, I think you have to always just make your own judgment about what you want to do. But it's a big deal to lose weight. I'll be on week 3. I started out with samples from the doctor. we'll see how everything goes. I'm really hoping that my next month's supply will come from Medicare for the $50. So that's week 2. It's all happening now. See you later.